Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about my backpacking cook system and why I switched from this to this. So yeah, I'm going to be talking a little bit about how I switched from a more traditional backpacker's cook system to a more simplified ultralight cook system and why. But before we kind of get into everything, just know that I'm not saying one of these is better than the other. I think that they both have their different applications depending on what kind of hike you're doing. But know that I actually really liked the previous system that I had. It worked for some trips that I would do. Moving forward, I just don't feel like it's going to really kind of fit the type of hiking that I want to do in the future. So let's talk about the things that I would carry with me in my old cook system, which I think for a lot of people can relate to this. You bring everything that you think you need. It's a really common kind of backpacking mentality to bring what you think you need, not what you absolutely need. So I would bring out a pot. In that pot, there would be actually enough for two people, even though I was just using it for just myself. It was 2 cups, 2 bowls, 2 sporks. It came in a bag that was watertight. You could use it as a kitchen sink. The pot had a lid. I would bring a different plate, a whole separate plate, and then I would bring a lot of utensils, an additional knife, fork, and spoon, a spatula, a little cutting board, you know, cooking oil, salt and pepper, which fit for what food I was bringing on the trail. But I'd also have my stove and the fuel bottle that came with it, which is very typical. But yeah, that was kind of like my whole system. There was a lot of it, and I'd always bring everything. I even brought a kitchen sink. So yeah, I was a bit overkill, but it was the things that I thought that I would need, which I think is, like I said, very common amongst backpackers. Is they want to be prepared for anything really. When you compare that to my new system, and I will say that hindsight is 2020 in this situation. I realized with my new system that there is just a lot of things that I don't absolutely need. They are not crucial to my experience or to my needs on the trail. And so my new system is a 700 milliliter titanium pot. It's about the size of a mug. It has a lid, and then I have a really small stove. It's the BRS 3000T, which has been an excellent stove. Very tiny, weighs less than an ounce. And then I have a fuel canister. I have a little lightweight towel that I like to use to wipe out the inside of my pot. And I have a spork and a mini Bic lighter to light it all. And that's it. This of course has changed, like the types of foods that I would eat, but not by a lot. A lot of the times I would just bring ramen or bring backpacker meals or just anything that was like add hot water to. It was very common, and I had all of those other items for just adding water. So yeah, I think the change has been, for one, really eye-opening for me, but it's also just like, kind of changed my whole mentality on, what do I need on the trail when I'm putting in big miles. Now, when I'm just doing really short trips, like my family, we would always do this one every year where it's like 1 mile. It was up in the high Uintas. It was flat. And we would just kind of set up shop and just stay in one campsite the whole time. And we'd honestly eat really well and eat, not really common backpacker meals. But even then, when I was bringing my own food, it was very simple because I'm not an incredible chef. So it was just like, I'm going to make it easy. But I brought more stuff than I needed for how simple my meals were going to be. So let's talk about like why I made the change. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I've transitioned to a more ultralight setup. And I'm in the process of kind of like finding out what works for me. And that was the really big reason why I changed. Also, if you look at the amount of real estate that my old system would take up, I mean, it would take up so much space in a backpack. Even a larger backpack, it was just a lot of things. And my new system takes up I mean, it's the size of the pot. That's it. You know, there's nothing else to add to it. And then I have like my spork that just kind of floats around wherever it can fit. But another reason why I did it was because my goal was to do much longer backpacking trips where I was putting in bigger miles. And when you are putting in anywhere between 10 to 20 miles in a day, and you're doing that every day, you don't want to have to, for one, carry that much stuff, because weight becomes a real apparent issue when you're putting in that many miles on your body. It's just like, it can become more exhausting. So, but the other reason is because when I'd get to camp at night, you know, I would just be like, I just want to eat, get it done, get it over with real quick. No big mess, not all this stuff to gather and bring out every single time I did it. It was just really simple. I'd put out my fuel can, screw on my stove, turn it on, fill up some water, and then heat it up and then pour it into whatever I was making for that day. So yeah, simplifying that, shortening that amount of time that it required to actually make food meant that I could get more rest during the night, go to bed earlier, whatever, and be more prepared for the next big mile day. So yeah, as far as benefits of this more simplified system, again, I've kind of gone over them already, but just to hit on them again, you know, not having so much stuff to deal with, not having extra weight to carry, and then having a shorter, more simplified, easier night of cooking, so you can get to bed and be well rested for the next day's long, big miles that you're going to be putting in. So let's get into some of the kind of more fun aspects, the numbers, the weight between the two systems. I actually hadn't ever weighed them until just last night when I was getting this video ready to record for today. I weighed them and I was just like blown away. I was just like, wow, that is a huge difference. So seeing those numbers for the first time was a real eye-opener. But yeah, let's get into it. So the old system weighed 63.56 ounces, which is 3.7 pounds. And that's even with the empty fuel can. My new system with an empty fuel can is 10.96 ounces. It's not even a pound. My old stove that I used to use weighs 16 ounces. It weighs more than my entire cook system now, which is just, it's incredible. You know, it's just like, you know, it's really easy to look back on yourself and be like, wow, I was really green or ignorant to what I actually needed on the trail. And again, like, some of the stuff you might need on a trail depending on the type of trip you're doing. But like, for me, even the types of trips I was doing were different from the ones I'm doing now. They were still overkill for what I was doing. So seeing these numbers side by side, but also seeing the physical representation of the two of them is just like mind-blowing, you know, because the less space that you take up in your pack, the more space you have for other things, or the more opportunity you have to actually have a smaller backpack, which would equate to a lighter weight backpack, because backpacks can be really heavy. I think my last backpack, I'm not exactly sure, it was a 60 liter by Gregory. It was the Baltoro 60, it might have been 65, but I think it was like 6 or 8 pounds. And my new pack is like, it's a Z-Pack's Arc Blast, and it's like 21 ounces. So, and it's 55 liters still. I mean, there's a big change in like the materials that were used in them, but like I've been able to drop down 10 liters in size, and I have room for everything I need. So the question now is how do I like my new system compared to my old system? And because my whole mentality has kind of changed in the realm of all of my backpacking that I do, I like it a lot more. Not only is it just so much lighter and takes up so much less space, it's just more simple. I don't have to think about as many things at night when I'm making my food, or in the morning when I'm making breakfast. It's very simple. It's just add water, basically. I think what it really did for me was looking at this now, is like, I look at everything now is like, do I actually need this? How could I simplify this? Even more so than how can I make this lighter weight? You know, I think that for anyone who's considering going ultralight, or not even going ultralight, but just take a minute and look at your gear and see, like, do I need to take this pot that has enough bowls and cups and utensils for 2 people when it's just me? I could just take half that out and leave it at home, or just bring one of the bowls and cups. In my system, they're pretty much the exact same shape. In my old cook set, like, the only difference was one had a neoprene sleeve on it, so you could make like hot chocolate and it wouldn't burn your hand, and I just think that, like, simplifying everything is just going to help you, for one, enjoy the trail more, enjoy your surroundings more. You're going to be less miserable because you're most likely going to be carrying less weight, which isn't going to be as taxing on your body. So yeah, I mean, I've really loved the transition over to like the more ultralight kind of way of thinking. I feel like I can put in bigger miles each day, and I can just really kind of enjoy this experience more so, and bring in more of like what's going on around me and being in such beautiful country. So yeah. Okay, so that's really why I've switched from my old cooking system to my new cooking system. I'd really like to hear from you to know what kind of changes you've made in your whole backpacking setup, whether it's your cooking system or something else, to make things either more simplified, lighter weight, or just pure elimination because you just didn't need the actual piece of gear. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions, or you want to talk about any kind of like backpacking gear that you're looking at or considering, or any of my experiences with the ones that I've shared today. Leave me a comment. I'd love to chat with you about it. And leave a like if you feel so inclined. And I look forward to talking to you guys in the next video.